when you get the information back, you start looking at it like the USA. That was 80% trash and about 20% useful. So, and they identified about 80% trash. And that's a really good sign that there's nefarious activity going on.
Ready to rock and roll?
All right. This time, I will call the Monday, March 10th, 2025 meeting to order. Welcome everybody to listen to this. Thank you for being here. Will please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Grant, I see we have a student presentation.
We do indeed, Mr. Ashworth, and I think it's up to you whether you prefer to honor the volleyball team first or the student presentation first. We've got it listed as the student presentation first, so we can do either.
Let's just go ahead and do the presentation.
Sounds great.
Great. While they're coming up here, this is one of our newest clubs. This is the Unity Club. It would be a great opportunity for them to tell everybody what they're up to. And Mr. Green asked me to give a little bit about the club and all that stuff. They're doing the whole thing. So they're going to do the whole presentation, tell you all about it.
Hello everyone, thank you for having us here to present for you today for Unity Club. Here on our first slide, this is a picture of us on one of our dress-up days for Black History Month, and that is our t-shirt we designed last year.
My name is Kira Littlejohn. I'm the president of Unity Club, and I'm a senior.
My name is Curtis Simmons. I'm the vice president at Unity Club, and I'm a junior.
My name is Isaiah Staley. I'm the secretary of Unity Club, and I'm a junior.
My name is Christian Littlejohn, and I'm the treasurer of the Unity, and I'm a junior.
And my name is Akila Cunningham, and I'm the media of Unity Club, and I'm a junior.
My name is Amari Jackson, and I'm a freshman.
My name is Ashley Jackson, and I'm a freshman.
Unity Club is a great experience for people to open their horizons to different cultures. It teaches us to recognize different cultural standpoints while also helping us understand our differences. It's important to make sure all differences, regardless of gender, race, or ethnicity, are acknowledged and accepted to create an accepting and empowering environment for everyone. And it teaches us how to respect and appreciate those differences as well. And in this club, we also capitalize on being unified and together. So we all like to be on the same page at meetings to make sure all voices are heard and everyone's opinions are valued.
Here our purpose in Unity Club is to learn about various cultures and celebrate their differences, focus on volunteering and providing a service in the community to give back, learning not only to eat from the earth, but also heal from the earth by using natural resources. Here in this picture, you have some of the guys in Unity Club preparing for the fall festival. And then for the next photo above it, we have the Christmas Sure Wheels. We gathered donations from the school, the community, and people in the club, and helped put them together to give out.
With our club accomplishments, we like to focus on our annual talent show. We do it every year and have some students and faculty participate in it. We also like to focus on Black History Month, where we set up a trivia game for students and faculty to participate in so they can win prizes. We also make posters around the school with facts and different African Americans. For our community accomplishments, we make fruits and vegetable baskets for our local senior citizens. We also participate in the annual senior games hosted by the meeting place. We can volunteer and have fun with the seniors.
Here are some pictures of our school-related activities. Up here is our talent show. Last year was our first year doing it. A lot of students wanted us to do it again this year, so we are. Down to the bottom left is our fall bake sale. We did that. This was our first year ever doing it. It was really successful. We raised a little over $120. Up at the top left was our Black History Month trivia, where students came to us and answered some questions. In the middle was our Arbor Day activities, where some of our club members went out with elementary schoolers, helped them learn, explore a little bit about nature. And in the bottom right was us making our posters that we put around school for Black History Month.
Here are some photos of us being engaged in the community. Here we're making cards for former veterans. This was a herbal workshop where we made echinacea. And here's Miss Jackson's daughter planting mint in the Unity in the Community Garden and preparing tea with former CC.
Things we aspire to achieve are to have resources to visit an HBCU campus and to participate in tutoring programs, to host a talent show each year, to encourage more students of color to internationally prepare for college, and to bring our club ideas on a larger scale. And we are sponsored by the Unity in the Community, and the board consists of David Staley, Cassandra Whiteside, Stephen Hines, Faye Jones, and Sharon Jackson, and Terry Palmer. And they are supporting us in whatever we need and all of our ideas.
This is a thank you to our PCHS administration team, to our principal, Ms. Bean, on the left here right here as well, for allowing our club to become a part of PCHS and for standing by our advisors during their decision making. You've been very considerate, kind, understanding, and supportive. And to Mr. Giles, thank you for always encouraging our club members and advisors to be their best selves day in and day out. You make others strive to be better people. And to Mr. Hill, you're always willing to have fun and participate in our activities, and your support is amazing. We really appreciate you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank y'all so much. So we are so excited to have this new club at our school. And my favorite thing that they did during Black History Week, they had a thing where they did the trivia game. So Giles and I, at least during one lunch every day, we would go over and we would have one question to see who could get the question first. It was fun. And I got candy.
Oh,
I got candy too. So it was good. It was good. It was perfect. So we love it. We're very proud of all of it.
Ms. Bean, they're welcome to hang out for the rest of the meeting. I know it'll be very interesting and enthralling, but of course they may have some other things they want to do as well. So up to them. But thank y'all for being here.
Yeah, perfect.
You are a master attorney.
All right, then. Next we have the Polk County High School Women's Volleyball State Championship Team. Ms. Hill, I'll call you up, please.
Mr. Reinhardt, I think is here, correct? Mr. Reinhardt, you ready to take some photos? All right.
All right, first things first, I'm Coach Hill. I'm the varsity head coach, and I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. We had another fantastic year, lots of success, and we couldn't have gotten where we got without you guys and all of your support and the school system support. So thank you so much, and for having us here tonight. Really quick, what we're going to do first, some of my seniors have little medallions for all of the board members. And this is a little representation of our ring that we got this year. So we wanted to share those with you and make sure that each one of you guys got one. So ladies, if you'll bring all the board members a medallion. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Y'all turn around and smile and give Mr. Reinhardt some action shots there. Don't leave, wait, turn around, look at Mr. Reinhardt.
Thank you. You know, I don't think I do that. She's shaking on her.
This is that one.
She's the best.
Awesome.
Oh, sorry.
Awesome.
Okay, and then really quick before before everybody steps out, we have a surprise for you girls. Just because we're back-to-back state champs and two-time state champs, and you guys had, crazy year this year with hurricane and just went through a lot and didn't really know what our season would hold. And then came through that and prevailed and had this awesome ending. We wanted to surprise you with something special that no one else has gotten, and your school system stepped up in a huge way, and they were like, we love this idea, let's provide this for these girls. So we actually have another ring for you guys, and this is something that we felt like you could wear every day and really show it off. Okay, so this one's for Akila. You can be my model. Okay. So it's actually a band, and it's styled like Tiffany's band, and so that's why we sized you for two different fingers. So this is for that middle finger size that we went with. So pull it out and show it off. Yep. And it says your name, and it says state champs across it, and has a blue stone right in the middle. So it's very pretty, and everybody's getting one. All thanks to your awesome school system that supports you guys. So we're going to call you up if you'll come get your ring.
Akila.
Oh.
Yeah. Gotta get pictures. Gotta get pictures.
Put it on and show it off.
Is that not cool?
All right, Mia.
That way.
There you go.
I want to see too.
You guys can put them on and go show them off.
Oh, how pretty. Love it. Congratulations.
Isn't that cool? Pretty cool.
Naomi. Oh my goodness. Already dropping it. Kylie. Aslan. Yep. Morgan and Sophia. I think my fingers are small. All right, Abby and Louisa. Hey, Beja and Mahaley. All right, make sure you put them on, and then we'll get a picture. Sorry, Judy, Raya. All right, really quick, girls, sit down for just a second. We got Miss Dean a ring because she was so awesome and supportive, and she was like a shoulder for me to cry on a lot, and just somebody that I could run to and jump up and down and hold hands and celebrate things, and then also like just a true like core person for me as the coach. And she's always at every game for you guys, and she's standing over in that corner, and she just is a huge support for us. So she wanted to get her ring too, so she'll match us.
Ladies, if you don't mind, when you do, I'd love for y'all to all get up, kind of walk around behind the board, and then Mr. Reinhardt will take a picture of you guys standing behind our board. Thank you.
I was not expecting that.
What are you fighting? Get down.
Maybe hold it up or something. Yeah.
Yeah, please don't hold it up with one finger.
me. Go 1, 2, 3. Another one. 1, 2, 3.
I can just see that.
All right. And last but not least, we also have something for our coaches as well.
Oh, maybe we got some for the coaches too. Wow.
You're state champions that deserve to do something for it.
Yeah, sure.
Little box.
Isn't that cool? All right, and Mr. Reinhardt, I need a picture with, yeah, there you go, with Mr. Ashworth, not you. I'm trying to get Mr. Ashworth in a picture. It's my fault. I need to make a donation to Mr. Ashworth for some balloon Ashworth financial shirts.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, obviously, if you want to say, or the board wants to say anything, ask the ladies any questions, but before that, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate y'all's effort. The fact that you really showed people what it means to be a team and to work together. And you see it. Perhaps you fall victim to it sometimes, but it's hard. People get jealous. People want playing time, all that. What I saw from you guys was y'all came together every single time and did a great job. And it's hard to win 2 state championships. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you for your sacrifice.
Any questions for anybody?
Awesome job.
Okay, congrats, ladies. Thank you so much. And you're more than welcome to stay. We certainly not want to be here for the next year.
And you're gonna do it again this year, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Do it
Next
again.
year, let's go.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys. Great job.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
You deserve it, guys.
Hey,
Will,
somebody left your phone. Oh, okay. Thank you guys for your service.
Kristen Smith, Will wanted to make sure he got a picture of you. So tap Andy and he can get you the copy, okay? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely. That's awesome. All right, moving along. The next thing we have on the agenda is the approval of February 10th, 2025 minutes. We'll be looking for a motion and a second for approval.
I make a motion that we approve the February 10th meeting.
I'll second.
Judy has made the motion. I believe that it is accurate. So Mr. Stitch is seconded, so we will, hold for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Moving along under instructional, first thing we have here is the FFA overnight field trip request, Mr. Green.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, very standard in terms of what's going on this time of year. Our land judging team and our dairy judging teams are ready to go and compete. And these are the very activities that we hear over and over again that build capacity and skills in our kids to engage the real world out there. So I certainly recommend this strongly. Again, Ms. Bean supports these trips, and I do believe they have their chaperones, ratios, everything good to go.
Is an actionable item. We'll be looking for a motion and a second for approval. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have the pre-K mid-year update. Ms. Hardy.
Thank you for letting me come and give you an update, and then my boss is Laura Jane, and she's going to give you an update on our assessment and our data that we've been collecting. I did want to go over just very, very briefly how we're doing enrollment this year, and it actually is working really well. Stearns is a flurry of activity in about 4-hour blocks at a time. We have, as you see in the chart, as of the 7th, we have done 55 enrollment appointments. And what that means is a family comes in and they have to rotate between 4 tables. They rotate to the enrollment table where we get birth certificates, immunization records, and all that good stuff. Then they'll see the preschool nurse, where if there's any medications or any medical concerns, she tries to right then assess what they are so she can get started on it. They go to Miss Laura Jane's table so that they can get an idea of not only of what their children are expected to learn in preschool, but what the parents want their children to learn in preschool. So it's a two-way communication. And then I've left someone out, Miss Lisa. She is our support coach, and she also talks to the families about any kind of concerns or anything that they might have. This year, we are about 20 children down from what we usually do. And for NC Pre-K, this is the first year that we have been down as much as 7 children. Now, NC Pre-K reimbursement is based upon attendance, so if we don't have those 7 children, then we're not going to get reimbursement. I estimated 2 months ago that would be about a $34,000 loss to our revenue coming in. However, our with children being added and recalculating it, Debbie and I have determined right now it's about $25,000 worst case scenario. I really don't think it's going to be that much at the end of the year. In the past, NC Pre-K has allowed us, I'm going to say before COVID, NC Pre-K would allow programs to just keep the money anyway. Well, since COVID and other things that have happened at the state level, we now have to revert the money unless they change their mind. They have not made that decision yet this year. We're hoping that they're going to be nice and let us keep the money. But Miss Lovelace and I have, looked at the budget. We're still going to be okay. But we sure would like for them to allow us to keep that money. Applications are very strong, and this is really why I wanted to point this out, is that yes, we are down enrollment this year, but we're already far ahead of what we were at this time last year. When I looked at where we were last year, we had about 55 applications and returners instead of 98. So the trend is really good. Kathy Harding has a theory about why our enrollment is down this year. It's not probably, I think it's accurate, but I don't have any proof that it's accurate. The children entering preschool this year, those were the children that when COVID hit, parents could not go to the doctor together. They couldn't go into a delivery room together. So the whole people kind of thought twice about, do I really want to have a child this year? And those are the children, when that began, that would have been coming to school this year, if that makes sense. That is a Kathy Harding theory. It probably makes no sense to anyone but me.
It makes perfect sense.
Right. So we also, for kindergarten registration, that's getting ready to gear up. If we capture children at kindergarten registration that aren't in our preschool, we will give them the opportunity. Come on now, 2 or 3 months is better than nothing. It really gives you a great transition into kindergarten if you're with us for 2 or 3 months. So that's another thing that we're doing. Any questions? And the reason that you have a range of capacity is that when we have developmentally delayed children and we get funding for it, right now it's about $13,000, I think about what it is. Those children have to have a ratio of 1 to 6 instead of 1 to 9. So our classrooms have to be smaller capacity. We actually have a DD classroom at Polk Central that we were going to go over the 12. Well, that money is really good, $13,000 a head. So we were able to put a third staff person, a second teacher assistant in that classroom. So we maintain ratio, but it's a full classroom. So there are 3 adults in that classroom instead of 2. We try to be very creative, but all of our classrooms now can hold 18 children. We were limited when Forbes was down the hill because 2 of those classrooms could not hold more than 12. But all 9 classrooms have the capacity of 18 now. We also have an extra classroom at Tryon Elementary now so that we could expand into there. So we have room to grow, but I really feel confident that next year's numbers, we're not going to have the NC Pre-K issue that we had this year. Any questions? Thank you.
Sorry.
And can I introduce?
Please do, yes.
Okay. Miss Laura Jane Howell is our education manager for preschool. She has done remarkable things since she took this role. She is in the classroom all the time supporting teachers. We implemented the new creative curriculum, and it's just been really, really good. She goes in and does a lot of coaching with the teachers, very non-threatening. She does it in a supportive way. So it's just been great. And I think you're going to see from what she's going to go over the results that we've already seen this year from the good things that the teachers are doing in the classroom.
Thank you, Kathy. And thank you, everybody, for having me. Truly, I feel like it's a privilege to work with our county's youngest learners and our teachers and our families, and I'm thrilled to be here tonight. So sheer genius. I know when you got this presentation, I wanted to make it fun because in preschool, we like to have fun and we learn through play. So if you don't mind moving it to the next slide. One of the things that we do in our classrooms are called 6 weeks units of study. So they are available to every teacher in classroom. Every teacher and assistant and floater has been trained in the curriculum. And then based on child interests as well as family input for what they would like for their child to learn more about, then those are the studies that they pursue. So the one that I wanted to share with you guys tonight really briefly was a unit on water. And the reason I'm showing you things about getting your hair done is what kids were learning about is what is water? What can we do with it? What is it used for? What happens when it gets hot, cold, those kinds of things. So they worked on that for several weeks. And then based on that, kids are like, I wash my hair at home. And I like to go to the salon. And I see my mommy do that. My daddy goes to the barber shop. So that for them then morphed into a salon in the preschool classroom. So the slides that I sent you then, and I'll touch briefly on the things that they were learning about. For early literacy skills, we have pictures up. So that way when you came to the classroom barber shop, you could point to if you want to get a cut, a shave, a style, a perm. We also pair that with early math. So again, when you're getting your salon treatment done or your barbershop, then you can count out how many dollars that cost you, or how long if we had to use a timer in the classroom for friends to take a turn, how long that would take. You can see here this little boy, he has clearly seen this happen at his home, that shaving his legs. Of course, we were using child safety razors. That's something that he's seen at his home. And look at this picture over here. Could you tell that that little girl has definitely either gone to the beauty salon with her mom and or had that done herself. So things that kids learned, and Brandon, feel free to move to the next one if you want. So what did they learn? So here's another picture. This is Miss Jessie from the classroom. You can see that the kids are all gathered around her. She very bravely had her hair done. Of course, we have preschool safe scissors, so nobody actually got their hair cut. But from language skills, kids were working on everything from, how can I help you today? What kind of style might you like? Literacy skills, again, they practiced being able to point to those signs and saying things that they would like to have done to their hair. Social emotional skills. If you look at this slide, you can see that everybody's working cooperatively. They were sharing and taking turns. Fine motor skills, they were practicing with scissors. Gross motor, because they had various stations, then they would move around those stations and also lean back. So they're working on their large muscle skills. Math, I'd shared again, you're paying for your appointment. And then just critical thinking skills. So if you'll move to the next one. So then this morphs into our preschool. We have a school readiness committee that meets 3 times per year. And the people that participate on that committee are Ms. Crump, Kathy, I have a parent rep, I've got 2 kindergarten teachers, myself, and another preschool teacher. And we all get together 3 times per year and look at our data that all the classrooms are generating. So the highlights that I just wanted to touch on this, the fall data are the things that you're seeing over here in the brown. Those are children at the start of the school year that they were below developmental expectations for children their age. The yellow is then meeting or exceeding. So you can see now with our winter data, all the great growth that we've made. So ultimately, at this point of the school year, we have, as a committee, we set our benchmarks. We want to ensure that at least 85%, of course, we're working higher than that. But at this point of the school year, at least 4 of our 6 developmental domains, we've already met those benchmarks. So in the spring, again, when we get together, we absolutely expect that, as we did last year, we again exceeded all of our benchmarks. So if you'll move it to the next one. So I just put proof is in the pompadour, instead of proof is in the pudding, that these kinds of activities that we provide for children are absolutely a way to help foster their success and their learning. So, and hooray to our Polk County School Board members, and we thank you guys for your support.
Awesome.
It's good stuff.
Good stuff. All right, next on the agenda is the pre-K playground, big approval. Dr. Schweitzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and I want to apologize for the typo. It should say bid approval. I have corrected it on this one up here. It is a big approval, though. Don't get me wrong. What I'll say right off the bat is I deeply enjoy working with our pre-K program. They're so much fun. You know, it's not a show. They care deeply about what they do every single day and working with our children. It's great for me to get a chance to work with them closely. And over the course of the next year, that is something is definitely going to happen. Miss Harding, around about, was it a year ago, Kathy, or a year and a half ago, applied for some significant grant funding through Head Start and a couple other small grants funding sources. And I'm going to be careful about what I say here because we're being very tight to the vest about how much money we landed. But I am going to tell you that the dollar amounts you see up here, we have covered. So this is not any penny out of local funding. This is all grant funding we've covered. The reason I'm keeping it a bit close to the vest, and I'll be happy to share with you after the meeting, is we're still working with a few vendors on shaking out some details, and I don't really want them to know just how much money we actually have. So with all that being said, we started in on the bid approval process about, I guess, 3 months ago or so. Launched 3 of our pre-K playgrounds for a complete demolition and rebuild. That'd be Polk Central, Sunnyview, and Saluda. If you recall, Tryon is brand new, so it didn't need that. So those other 3 pre-K playgrounds, complete demo, level the site, and then start again. That's a tall undertaking with the budget that we've tasked them with, even by putting out there with our RFP that we were looking to accomplish all this for $500,000 or less. We reused some things, got very creative with our designs, but at the end of that bid process, you see the outcome from our criteria bid. I say criteria bid because price was only 50% of the bid criteria. We had some other set criteria in how we evaluated those designs. And our winner was Great Southern Recreation Company out of Tennessee is their home base, but they have a site in, I believe it's Shelby. Yeah. Site out of Shelby. So we're certainly excited about the chance to get to work with them. Already have had a great experience in our first few initial meetings with talking about design refinement, those kind of things. So we would be submitting to the board tonight approval of that bid acceptance and formal engagement with Great Southern Recreation for working on 3 of our pre-K playgrounds.
I will add to that is that usually when we get federal money, we have to do a 20% match of non-federal funds. They did grant us a waiver for that, so we do not have to match the 20% of the approximately $500,000.
So this is a federal grant?
Yes, sir.
We already got the funds
We
in
got
hand?
the money.
Money's in hand. Non-dogeable.
All right.
We got it just in time.
Okay.
A second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Good deal. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have the 2024-2025 summer program plan. Mr. Green.
Yes, sir. Dr. Schweitzer, if you'll click on that puppet for me. Thank you, sir. This is our testing plan. We have to put this in place so that when we do our summer school programs that we can go ahead and offer and administrate both in the course testing and this covers RTA too as well, does it not? So it's all of our testing for our summer program. I told Ms. Dufford I'd be glad to go over it for you guys, but again, this is very similar to what we approve each and every year so that we can test our kids once the school year is out. And remediation does go on between the EOG administration and when we retest. In fact, I shouldn't call it a retest. Technically, it's called a second administration of the exam, not a retest. So.
Any questions for Mr. Green? If not, we'll be looking for a motion and a second for approval.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those nay. Motion carries 7-0. Moving on, under administrative, the first item we have is the budget amendment. Ms. Debbie Lovelace.
You're sexy. Good to be back.
Welcome back.
I had to have back surgery, so, okay. Okay, amendment 4. We did not have anything for $5 is all we had for state funds. That was it. And I think that had to do with some kind of rounding on testing.
Yeah, I think that's a rounding.
Yeah. Then on Fund 3, which is our federal, we got an additional small amount for CTE program improvement, which is 1131. And the next one is Fund 4, additional revenues including our state capital. This is when Brandon requests funds to reimburse us for some of our capital stuff that we've had. And also state replacement buses and some of our county set aside that we get from the county. Okay, Fund 8, this was for Polk County Community Foundation. They got a grant for instruments and for a grant for some bluegrass instruments at Sunnyview, and also a little bit of money for the high school band. That was for instruments too. Yep. I think that was it.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Lovelace? If not, once again, we look for a motion in a second for approval.
I move the budget amendments.
A second.
Motion in a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Ms. Lovelace, we're going to stick with you with the audit contract.
Every year, the auditors, even though we have a contract for 4 or 5 years, every year we have to send up an update. We have that has to be signed every year. So that's just the contract for this year. And normally it's like a 3% increase. I think that's what they had on this one too, from year to year.
Yep. Certainly, Mr. Chair, we've been very pleased with them over time. They have always done a very good job with us. There's always a little concern about becoming too familiar with your auditor. On the flip side, government accounting is so transparent and clear in terms of what we have to do and what our obligations are. I don't have that issue. They are more than ready to slap us with something if we do it wrong. So I think it's a great firm for us to work with, and we certainly recommend continuing on with this contract.
We actually went out to bid.
Yep, and they want it. Yep.
All right, once again, an actionable item. We'll be looking for a motion in a second for approval.
On motion.
Motion in a second. Any further discussion?
Is the 2023 date correct in there for the effective for audits of fiscal years beginning on or after June the 30th, 2023? Should that be 2024 or?
So was that when we originally started with?
I think that was our original contract signature was on that year.
So it's 5 years today.
It's a good pickup, Ms. Jackson. She does good. She holds it. I like it. I like it.
Any other
That's what it
discussion?
says. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Dr. Spicer, next we've got the student transfer requests. I thought these looked to be all pretty straightforward. We want to take these in closed session.
Yes. Makes sense.
I see.
I think they're ready to go. Don't you? Yes, sir. Yeah.
Looking for a motion, second for approval of the student transfer request.
I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion.
And you second? Yes. Fair enough. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion also carries 7-0. Next, Dr. Schweitzer, we have the Helene recovery update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I believe it was back in December, we gave our initial update on the impacts from Hurricane Helene. And I think at this point to say that that event shook the foundation of Polk County in general is an understatement. I will say in this journey, if you keep the perspective to just the impact on our school system, we certainly incurred some damages, which I'll go through today and talk about what we've done in the meantime. But I will say we are incredibly blessed as I speak to neighbors north of us and others on things that they have dealt with to the tune of replacing entire schools, those kinds of things. From that perspective, when I say something like our end capital damages, just from a capital standpoint, amounted to just around $365,000. That sounds like a tremendous amount of money, and it is. Please don't hear me saying it's not. But compared to 60, 70, $100 million that some of our neighbors have incurred, we're incredibly fortunate. What I wanted to talk about today was from a 10,000-foot view, how we're going about making ourselves whole again and the work we've done since we last updated the board, where we stand and working with some of these agencies that are here to help us. Speaking of recovery partners, there's lots of different people working together to try to get us back on track. Lots about FEMA, which I'll talk more about in a second, what that engagements look like. Utica National Insurance Group is our insurance company that's been covering the physical damages and helping us out on that end of things. And then our community partnerships, our Community Foundation of Western North Carolina and our local Polk County Community Foundation have been phenomenal. I'm also going to talk in a moment about individual donors that have really stepped up throughout the entire community to help us in a variety of ways. So I really mean it when I say it's been multiple agencies and one goal was getting us back on track. In terms of what's happened from just a capital perspective on what we've tried to get done, this has started with this process of just taking inventory of what all has transpired. Identifying the damages was the easy part. I hate to say it that way, but it was. It's all the things that happened in our response that maybe aren't so obvious, like the fact that we helped staff or did staff the child care for our first responders and for our Advent Health in the height of the recovery. So that is an expense in paying for that staffing. There's lots of other pieces that we were able to stitch together. Our food loss, all of the food we lost through all of our coolers when the power was out for so long. All those kinds of things add up over time, and that's what you hear me say when I say all these things took time to identify. It's multiple layers of support. Again, I'll talk about in a second. The biggest and hardest thing in jumping into this is we really wanted school to get back on track quickly. That's something we've always felt passionate about, and getting kids back in school would certainly be the best way we could benefit this community, and also try to return to some sense of normalcy. With all that being said, that meant that we had to step out on our own and front fund all of our capital projects that we were trying to take on. So we certainly dipped deep into the pocketbook to take care of some of these critical damages, which I'll show you in a second, in order to get our schools to a safe place where we could re-engage and reopen. I know we talked about some of that, but I'm going to talk a little bit more here in just a second while I show you some of the pictures. And then last, to step forward in the journey, and that's that long-term project needs and what we need for funding as we go on down the road. Our funding sources for capital recovery really have come from these three main sources so far. Our insurance company, which is an ongoing engagement. Utica has already come out, done a full site assessment with us, full walkthrough of all of our buildings, and has already fast-tracked and made it through to the process of doing the initial cuts for insurance. Now, I've worked privately with insurance companies, and to get that kind of turnaround is pretty good, to be honest with you. So Utica, I don't often get a chance to brag on an insurance company. This is a positive thing. But I am going to brag on Utica National Insurance in that they have really stepped up and tried to fast track this process and get us the funds we need to help us make whole again. FEMA has been an ongoing process going back now, I think, to January is when I began my initial meetings with them. Every single Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., I'm meeting with my FEMA representatives and our project manager, who is the project manager not just for Polk County Schools, but for the broader county, for all of our townships. She certainly knows Polk County's needs inside and out. She has been absolutely wonderful to work with. I will tell you, and I want to talk delicately about how I navigate this process, the layers of paperwork and bureaucratic hurdles are significant in terms of what we're trying to navigate through to get access to that funding. That being said, I can't say enough good things about our project manager from FEMA that has been working with us. She answers the phone late in the evening. She answers all my silly questions. She helps get me on track and holds my hand when I need it with guiding through some of these processes. So FEMA has certainly been there on that side of things. I will say no dispersals have been received yet. However, we have two of our major projects that have made it all the way through to the end, which means they're at final sign-off for funding to head our way. And then multiple other projects that are still in process and approaching that final step. So all of that is still definitely in the works. And then last but not least, the North Carolina and the state legislature has appropriated an emergency fund set aside for Western North Carolina counties to try to tackle anything that wasn't covered by either FEMA or insurance. So the hard part about this is you have to get through insurance and FEMA process to know what's not covered in the end. So we've only just recently submitted some application for that. Primarily, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about the landslide that happened behind Saluda Elementary School. That embankment that's just below Seminary Street, we've had geotechnical engineers come out and evaluate it time and time again. They've told us all the same thing, which is that for now that bank is stable. However, they recommend that we definitely address that bank structure, that it will continue to have failures and deficiencies over time, which will certainly impact that building. I want to be clear that there's no risk that Seminary Street is going to slough off and slide into our building. So that is not what I'm saying. What we'll see is a continued degradation of that bank structure, and that soil and that material will keep flowing down into our building, which will cause problems over time. So that's certainly an area that we're trying to take a look at. That slope failure is not covered under insurance. It is also not covered necessarily by FEMA. We've got a project in the works that we're trying to see if there's any what they call mitigative measures. You're trying to mitigate the future damage by attacking this. We're trying to see if we can go that route for FEMA funding. But I have applied for the North Carolina Emergency Fund to try to get that retaining wall funded through that project. So that's an example right there of how this is a layered approach on how you're having to tackle some of these things.
Brandon, any help from the city on that wall?
I'm sorry?
Any help from the city of Saluda?
So an interesting journey. DOT has come out and said that Seminary is responsible for, that DOT is responsible for Seminary Street. However, they're not responsible for the sidewalk. That the city of Saluda is responsible for the sidewalk. The slope failure happens right at the edge of the sidewalk, which means as of this moment, it is majority Polk County School Board's property and our responsibility to tackle. If continued failures happen, 100% City of Saluda is aware of this, and they're standing by to try to jump in and help us with this project. So they're certainly aware. As of right now, we haven't made it to the step yet to see if there's any kind of obligation on the City of Saluda's part to try to help us on this side. We want to see how things go with the initial funding application. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir.
So this is just an example of two major projects. I want to go ahead and cite, just as I updated the board back in December, Saluda was definitely hit the hardest when it comes to damages incurred by the storm. There was damages at all of our sites in various ways, even damages associated with the response, the food distribution, those kinds of things, which by the way are not covered by insurance. So I had to work through that. However, these are two examples of us needing to fast track and get back on things. This was a tree that fell in the middle of the campus at Saluda Elementary School, collapsing some of the awning structure. Over here, you see that tree's been completely removed, and this photo is not even updated. The awning's been replaced back on that side as well. So we've got that part back up and running. On the right is the slope failure in the front of Saluda Elementary School. And you can see we were able to partner with Champion Construction, get a small retaining wall as a method of repair. I am learning my FEMA language and I'm using it as a method of repair in terms of how we've attacked that particular bank structure. And you can see, in my opinion, it actually looks better than it did originally. Sure does. We've got plenty of room for that walkway around the tennis courts and got everything cleaned up. So just an example of some of the progress we're getting back on track. However, I want to cite, as of this moment, Polk County School Board has paid for every penny of those repairs. We have not received funding yet to replace those things. They're all in process and we're working through it and optimistic at the moment, but I want to be transparent about that part of it. The last thing I want to talk about is, we talk about recovery. It's not just capital recovery. There's a human recovery element to this too. There was definitely student and staff impacts by this storm in a variety of ways. We've heard countless stories about families that were in Green River area, Packlet Valley area, all these different regions that were impacted, and so much beyond even those River Valley areas. Staff, students, the whole way around. I want to talk about how much I appreciate, as a resident of Polk County and as a school employee, witnessing firsthand our local agencies really step up and say, we're here and we want to know how we can help. It's been amazing seeing that process happen alongside local donors and people coming together to do individual donations to take care of families, provide housing for families and staff members, provide clothing support, pay power bills, you name it. It's been quite impressive seeing all of that come together. So I want to talk a little bit about that piece to it, in that we can certainly get into specifics later as time marches on, but I can tell you that I'm certainly proud to be a Polk County citizen and watch how this community is pulled together to support one another and to support our students. Mr. Green, is there anything that needs to be mentioned in terms of human recovery on that side?
I think you articulated things very well, sir.
Thank you. So that's all I've got, just a quick update on where we stand with things, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that update. Next, Mr. Green, we have recent grant awards.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I thought since we were talking about grants and different things coming through with the Head Start and the playgrounds, and we're going to be talking a little bit in new business, you may or may not realize about some federal programs. But I think that it's important for the board to know about the work that's being done on behalf of our students and families in terms of the number of our departments and individuals that write grants for services and monies I believe we should be getting anyway. But that's just Aaron Green. Doesn't matter what Aaron Green believes. However, Jennifer Peeler wanted you to know got a grant for right at $30,000, and that is to change the serving lines both at Trine Elementary and at Sunnyview Elementary to hopefully make things flow a little better, get kids through the lines, not be quite so intensive on the staff there. So congratulations to Ms. Peeler and that grant. And then I'm going to let Dr. Schweitzer tell you about a Safe Schools grant that he got. Not too much detail, Mr. Fagan. We do that in closed session, obviously, but this one's broad enough. I think he can talk about it in general terms. Dr. Schweitzer.
Thank you, sir. We were very fortunate to land roughly $125,000 in materials purchases for Safe Schools materials. That's certainly going to go a long way to continue some projects we've already started that I briefed the board in closed session on, and the progress that we need to make in those areas. I'm trying to be careful about not saying too much.
That's right.
But I will say I'm really excited about that dollar amount. And then also, more importantly, also landed a $70,000 extension on that as well for some school social workers. I think that'll at least fund one fully, and we may be able to get a partial out of that as well. So really excited about those.
Thank you, Dr. Schweitzer. And Mr. Chair, I may be getting on my soapbox here towards the end of my career a little more than usual, which probably was too much before. Why are we writing grants for SROs? Why are we writing grants for school nurses? Why are we going out and getting donations for kids to eat food? So I say that knowing that I'm preaching to the choir here, but do understand that your administration, even your schools, and even to a classroom kid and teacher level are out writing grants, getting donations, doing whatever they can to make sure we have what we need to provide exceptional, outstanding educational experiences for our kids. So I want to brag on my staff and let you know that, and to put that plug out there publicly for if we don't fund our public schools, I believe that we're going to regret it in the long run. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Any old business, Mr. Green?
Of course I have old business, sir. We need to talk about we had talked about the paving job for this summer. I know there was some question by the board as to funding from the county side. I do believe we're still on track for that. I had a meeting with Mr. Pittman today, not to get into detail about the county budget as it is not finalized at this point, but I do feel good about their ongoing support for that project. So there's no hitch in that giddy up. I think we're good to proceed there. So I wanted to make sure I updated the board on that. And then the PC4K, we haven't gotten a final total for PC4K yet because I'm still waiting on the wonderful folks at the Equestrian Center are massaging the bill a little bit for us. And so I'm not going to rush them if they're going to help us out with that bill, and they are doing just that. So I'm going to wait a little bit longer. I do think we will make in excess of 60 grand when all's said and done, which I think is incredible for one night. So just want to say thank you for your involvement with PC4K, and I'll get a better report out to you soon. Those were a couple questions that folks had asked me. If there's any other old business, I'm happy to address it.
Anything else? Okay, how about new business?
Oh, of course, sir. I have new business. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate that. Budget workshop for April. Is everybody good coming at 3 p.m. like we usually do, or you want to do it 4 p.m. and try to get it into 2 hours? Which thing? That'll be on April the 8th. And I can probably start at 4.
On a Tuesday?
7th. Gosh, I'm so sorry. That's on April the 7th, Mr. Chair. And we'd be starting at 4 p.m. No, hold me accountable. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. for the budget workshop, and then we can take a little break, eat, and then go right into the main meeting at 6:30. Kind of like we did with our training. If that doesn't work, we can look at a different time.
So It'll be the 14th. won't it?
14th, yeah, what am I doing? I had the 8th for some reason. I'm just dumb.
Well, I'm out, I wanna make sure I look
I've already
crazy.
got this right down on the 14th.
Yep.
Okay, so
It's like the superintendent already retired or something.
he checked out, that's for sure.
It's like I'm already retired, Mr. Chair, I apologize. It is April the 14th, the second Monday, as we have done for the last 30 years. We will meet the second Monday in April, which is the 14th.
I'm good with whatever that far out.
4 to 6 p.m. good? All right, guys, we'll try to keep it to 2 hours, although there will be a fun budget meeting this year. All right. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Yeah, we'll send the information out to you. Mr. Chair, if the board would like to, the administration has looked at our calendars. If you'll recall, we did miss one day for the entire district because of that snow event. And then we missed an additional day at Saluda because things were still tricky up there. The administration would recommend that, given North Carolina has treated our Helene days like they were student days, we are still well within our hour requirements for attendance for students. So our suggestion at this point would be to move the optional workday from the end of the year to that day everybody missed, to forgive Saluda its one day, and to move on with that calendar so that we don't change spring break and we don't change the end of the year.
So moved.
I think we got to get one at a time. Mr. Chair, you control your board, sir.
I got a motion to second. That is, we do need to vote on that, correct?
Yes, sir. I think anytime we change one of those work days, and that's all we're shifting is that work day from there. That way our teachers can take, leave if they want to, and everybody gets paid the way they're supposed to.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those nay, that motion carries 7-0.
All right, Mr. Chair, last but not least on the new business, I have been asked and continue to be asked with some of the things you hear on the national level about what is taking place with the Department of Education, with federal funding, what would the implications or ramifications be on Polk County schools if we were to lose funding, or if we were to have program changes. And so if you don't mind, I'll go through that briefly with you. I think to be rude and inappropriate, I will start at the bottom bullet point. Or not the bottom of the second one, or the third one up from the bottom, which is this. 11% roughly of our budget comes from federal sources. So we have a $29 million budget. You do the math, it's about $3.2 million. Now, I don't think we have heard that they're completely going to wipe the money away. In other words, I don't know that they're going to take Head Start money away and start closing child care centers. I don't think they're necessarily going to tell special education parents and kids that they can't get services anymore. But I do want to run down this list and tell you that there are a variety of programs, funding sources, and issues if we start making changes to regulations and requirements. Just to make it easy for you to understand, under these federal funding programs with Polk County Schools, you're going to see words in parentheses behind each bullet or beside each bullet. If it says direct, that means that is a direct funding from the federal government to Polk County Schools. If it says pass through, that means we also may get funding that comes to the state from the federal government and then passes through to our local district. Does that make sense? If it has the word program beside it, that means we have some obligation of providing some type of service or program as a result of receiving that funding, or we have access to programs that we can utilize to serve our students as a result of that funding. Regulated means that any of the monies we would receive or any of the programs we would operate with that money would be regulated. And I can assure you all federal money is regulated. Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV, just so I can put a face on those different title programs. Title I is your remediation program. It supplies funding for extra staff and intervention supplies and materials so that our kids who are not performing at grade level or have developmental delays get services and get support before they have to be identified as exceptional children. Title II is what they call professional development and class size reduction money. We use it as a class size reduction effort. We get about a teacher and a third in terms of funding there, and that helps us keep our class sizes low. Title III is your non-native speaker funding, which means if we have students who come to us who cannot speak English and need services, that's the money we would receive and the programming we would receive from Title III. And then Title IV is an additional funding pot that they've added to Title I, basically the same purposes. Only that one's geared a little bit more towards professional development and doing things like that. Ms. Crump, did I say anything wrong about any of those title programs?
No, you did not. Technology is a lot with
Number 4 also.
That's right, technology, that's true, yep. Thank you for that, because you got to have the technology and the things that we're doing these assessments and everything else. Child nutrition is another big item when it comes to federal funding. The USDA regulates that. We would not be able to run our food service programs without the support of the federal government. We always get talked about how the meals aren't necessarily that healthy. I challenge anyone to go out and find a meal that's healthy for $2.45. It's not happening. So if we see changes to that subsidy, if we see changes to the commodities that they provide us, if we see changes in the reimbursement rates that they offer, and probably the most scary thing to me is if we see a change in community eligibility programming, then we will not be allowed, and in my opinion, to serve kids who are underserved when it comes to getting their food. So I'm not worried about our child nutrition program shutting down. I am worried about kids and families right now who are receiving food basically for free. Won't be able to do that going forward. That is discussion I'm hearing at the state and federal level. Exceptional Children's Program, again, I'm talking about a myriad of laws on the books, protections for students who have an IEP, an individualized education plan, and who merit those services. And so, again, I don't think they're going to do away with that, but there's also a lot of institutional knowledge, experience, and resource in the Department of Education that both at the state and federal level we tap into to serve those kids. For example, we'll run across a student every once in a while that we don't know how to serve because we never served that particular individual before. And so if those folks aren't in place at the state and federal level for us to call and to get resources and assistance for, then we're going to be out here floundering around trying to figure out what to do with these kids. Polk County Schools does not know all the different things out there in the world. We are a little bit sheltered. So those types of services and access are huge for us. Medicaid participation and reimbursement. Because we currently are funded in North Carolina at 13.5% for EC, we're serving 19% in this county. Y'all can do the gap math, right? We have about 370 kids on our IEP rolls. And so if we don't get this Medicaid participation and reimbursement, we would not be able to finish the programming for those kids. We are out of state and federal money for our EC programs right now, this year. The only thing that's going to carry us through the rest of this year to provide those services, mandated by law for students, is that Medicaid money, because we apply for and receive reimbursements for the Medicaid services we provide. So if that goes away or is changed or regulated in some other fashion, that will be a tremendous hit on our exceptional children's budget. Career and technical education, the very thing that we argue kids need to be doing. I sure hope they don't mess with the Perkins Act and that funding or the resources they provide as a result of that, because that is literally where our strategic planning meetings are telling us we need to be headed. Getting kids career ready, workforce ready. That is federal money that comes both directly to us and through the State Department. So career and technical education is something we absolutely have to hang on to if we're going to serve our students and our families. You can see the 3 grants below that. After school grant is a federal grant. It is a direct funding, but there are a lot of program requirements there and a lot of regulations there. But that does provide after school for a great number of what we would call disadvantaged students here in Polk County. Head Start, same thing, pre-K services for disadvantaged families. Gear Up is a recent grant we got to do the workforce development I just talked about. And we have a position here and we're working with Appalachian State. Those types of grants we hear could be on the chopping block as well. If they are, then we would have to cease and desist those particular operations at that time. I've told you already about what portion of our budget, and that is a combination of both the direct federal funding we receive and the pass-through funding we receive through the state. I think sometimes people may forget about the protections that are offered in terms of law, and that the fact that the Department of Education and the state folks who are federally funded to regulate those protections, if you have somebody who is not being served appropriately, whose civil rights have been violated, if we don't have those people in place, who do they go to? Who do we go to get advice about how to support them? So you're going to, again, have laws in place that we are required to follow and abide by without the resources there to do it. So access to partnerships and outside resources. There are many, many times when, because of our relationship with a Title I grant, we have access to statewide negotiated resources. And Ms. Crump, we don't have to pay a big chunk of money. We pay a little bit, but not a big chunk of money for M-Class because we have that bargaining power of the state. So again, if those federal programs go away or are changed, then we won't have access to some of that programming, some of those resources and materials that keep our budget reasonable at this point in time. I know that's a lot to throw at you. I am not trying to be an alarmist. Again, I don't think they're going to start ripping money out of people's hands, but I will tell you this. The day that all that announcement came out, my phone and a lot of people's phones were flooded with calls and emails about, am I going to lose my job? And so at the very least, maybe well-intentioned, it does cause a little bit of chaos if we're not going to be upfront about, hey, we're taking a look at X, Y, Z. We may or may not be doing these things, but just to go on saying we're shutting it down, that freaks people out. And quite frankly, I don't think it's that simple. I think there's a lot of law and policy that are intertwined in there. So again, political posturing is one thing, nuts and bolts are another. I think we're going to be okay. I also worry about if the federal government goes to something like a block grant. Right now, you have specific money allotted for specific reasons. If they just start giving money and saying, you do whatever you want to do with it, certainly Polk County Schools is going to do the right thing, as long as the board watches over the administration's shoulder. There's some places that may not happen. And so I worry about that there is a regulatory feature there that probably needs to be there. The other thing that happens when you have an allotment-based budget for positions versus a cash allotment system, if they were to cut allotment positions, then we could blame that on the federal government. They're the ones cutting the positions. But what they like to do is give you a cash allotment, cleave a little bit off of the cash allotment, and then tell you, you got to make the cuts. So then the Polk County Board of Education looks like the bad guy, even though it's the same reason we having to make the cut. So that's why a cash allotment sometimes is favorable for those in politics versus a positional allotment. And some of these things we're talking about are positional type allotments. So I say all that to say, yes, I'm concerned. Yes, we need to keep our eye on the ball. And yes, this is a lot more involved than people may realize in terms of how we get our funding and how we provide the mandated, legally obligated services to students. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
First of all, thank you for that very uplifting. Any questions?
If you want more detail, I can't imagine that you would. If you do, you let me know. I will sit down with Ms. Lovelace. And guys, I wanted you to be armed with a little bit of something, because if you haven't been asked already, I mean, I've been hit up by people in the community. I've been talked to directly about, I know this EC teacher and they're talking about federal funds. Are they going to get fired? So I wanted y'all to be equipped to be able to answer. Again, it's not time to start ringing the bell and protesting and getting everybody together, but we need to watch. We need to care. As far as other new business, sir, I think that is it, unless somebody can tell me something I'm forgetting. Anybody know anything? Thank you, Mr. Chair, for that time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. For your information, we have the February Head Start Policy Council minutes, the February preschool monthly report, pre-K financial report, the monthly financial report, monthly credit card report. We'll have spring break March 31st through April 4th. And there's NCSBA offered optional war training, spring law conference, April 3rd and 4th via Zoom, summer leadership conference, June the 16th and the 20th at Rice Beach. And then you have the NCSBA video training library that's available to us.
How do you do those Zoom things?
What's that now?
How do you do that if I wanted to do that Zoom thing?
Call this lady right here and she'll get you information.
Okay.
She'll shoot you a link on your email and click, click, click.
We did not have anybody sign up for public input, so no public input. Mr. Green, what do we have for closed session?
It'll be personnel and a property matter, sir.
Property.
Yes, sir.
We're looking for a motion to move into closed session for purposes of discussing personnel and a property matter. Motion is second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all for being here.
I'm hoping that what they're planning on doing